wide load. Believe me, I wasn't looking at any particular person when I said that just now. I'm actually thinking of the interstate, the highway system. You know it, when you're traveling, you see a big semi-trailer pulling some kind of a mobile home or a home. We've become a very mobile society, building something and moving it from one place to another. We experienced that right here on campus last June, if you recall. Holland House, sitting on Haggard Avenue, took a few days, maybe a week actually, to be lifted up with hydraulics, put onto the flatbed of the truck, and moved across the campus, and it has become our Newman Center over on South Campus. When speaking to Neil Bromelo, who was in charge of planning and construction around here at Elon, he said to me, "Do you know what brought that house here over to South Campus?" And I said, "Yes, I do." He said, "Hydraulics and great power." And I said, "No. What brought that house from Haggard Avenue to South Campus was faith. Faith of the students present, faith in the students who are alumni, faith by the parents, faith in the diocese, faith in the higher-ups here at Elon. Faith is what brought that house over to South Campus. Faith and faith alone." The prophet Habakkuk, kind of one of the minor prophets, the minor of 12, he's number 8, spoke to the people of Judah, actually, but we're hearing the part where he has a dialogue with God. He said, "All I see is ruin and misery and destruction. When are you going to do something?" It's almost as if he's watching the evening news that's present today and saying to God, "What are you going to do for us?" And God says to him, "It's all in my vision, all in good time. The just person will live by faith. You just have to wait and trust that I have a plan for the people of Judah." His plan was destruction by the people of Babylon. God has a plan always for us too. The disciples in the gospel who have been with Jesus for a while, listening to him on his public ministry, all of a sudden, because of the demands of discipleship, are saying to him, "Please, increase our faith. We can't go forward without more faith." And Jesus said, "No, all you need is faith the size of a mustard seed." Does anybody cook? Have you ever seen the size of a mustard seed? It's quite tiny. It barely fits in the palm of your hand, and you can lose it in a second. Faith that size, Jesus said, can move a tree from here to there. You could move mountains with that little bit of faith the size of a mustard seed. We're not like that, are we? The disciples weren't like that. They wanted a stockpile of mustard seeds. We do too. And God says, take what I give you and work with it. We look at great people like Mother Teresa. We think she had a great stockpile of faith to do the work she did. She had the same mustard seed. What did she do? She offered it back to God. She acted on that little bit of mustard seed and trusted that God had put her there in Calcutta to do the work that he had asked her to do. And she just said yes and continued the work. Tomorrow is the feast of the founder of the Franciscan order, the order that I belong to. And I always think that he had this stockpile of mustard seeds. He didn't. He had one. And that one, when he was in the church of St. Damien, and the crucifix, the facsimile right here, spoke to him and said, "Rebuild my church," his little mustard seed thought that God expected him to build and rebuild a church he was praying in, when actually he came to understand the magnitude of God's challenge. Rebuild my church. And we have the Franciscan order that's been around for many hundreds of years. That's how he rebuilt the church. It doesn't take much. We think we want a stockpile, we think we want more, but look what we could do with a little mustard seed if we're willing to act and trust that we are doing God's work. I watched a number of people stand on Church Street holding placards asking for an end to abortion and praying for a respect for life. That took one seed only and a lot of trust in what that message stood for. No matter what we're doing in life, no matter where we find ourselves, my sisters and brothers, it's just that little bit of mustard seed that we have been given, that high maintenance gift I mentioned early called faith, that if we're willing to act on it and not hold it and wait till we got a ton of them, we're willing to act right now, we can move mountains here on this campus. We can change the world by our lives. I'd like to end with two prayers, actually. One you're familiar with. You've heard of the Serenity Prayer? Yes? Serenity Prayer was written by a theologian named Reinhold Niebuhr, and it starts like this: God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and wisdom to know the difference. Many 12-step programs have adapted that as their prayer. There's an obscure verse I bet you don't know, and this is it. Taking as Christ did this sinful world as it is, and not as I would have it, trusting that He will make all things right, if I but surrender to His will. Powerful words. One more prayer that I think you are familiar with. You've heard it once, at least in this church, and that is the prayer of Blessed Cardinal Newman. God has created me to do Him some definite service. He has committed some work to me which He has not committed to any other. I have a mission. I may never know it in this life, but I shall be told it in the next. I am a link in a chain, a bond of connection between persons. He has not created me for naught. I shall do good. I shall do His work. I shall be an angel of peace while not intending it, if I do but keep His commandments. Therefore, I will trust Him. The little mustard seed we have, a great gift. If we're willing to trust that God can do great things through us with that mustard seed.